Every iPhone generation has one thing that actually matters. This year, it's not the design. This is not a redesign year. It's an internals year. And the internals on the iPhone 18 Pro Max are different. Apple is moving to a 2 nanometer manufacturing process for the A20 Pro chip. They are debuting the C2 modem, and they are introducing a variable aperture lens on the main camera, meaning you can adjust how much light reaches the sensor, cutting down on overexposure and giving you real hardware control over depth of field. There is one upgrade most reviewers are already getting completely wrong. We'll get to that. So here is what we are doing today. The iPhone 18 Pro Max is expected to land on September 18th. The keynote is tentatively set for September 9th, with pre-orders projected to open on September 11th. And between now and then, the leaks are piling up fast. I have gone through everything: supply chain reports, dummy unit leaks, analyst breakdowns, all of it. And what I found is a phone that looks familiar on the outside and is genuinely different on the inside. There is one feature in particular buried in the camera system that I think changes the entire conversation about whether this upgrade is worth it. We will get there. First, let me show you the full picture. Let's start where it matters most: the chip. The iPhone 18 Pro Max gets the A20 Pro, built on TSMC's 2 nanometer process. For context, the current A19 chip is built on a 3 nanometer process. 2 nanometers is a long-awaited step down in node size. What does that actually mean for you? It is expected to deliver roughly 15% faster CPU and GPU performance compared to the A19 Pro, along with improved efficiency for Apple Intelligence features. 15% faster, 30% more efficient, and it runs cooler under load. Now, I know what you're thinking. Every year they say the chip is faster. Every year I don't notice. Fair. Historically, that's been true, but this generation is different, and the reason is Siri. The biggest story is software. Siri, powered by Google Gemini, confirmed at BDC 2026, changes what these phones can actually do rather than what they might do someday. The new operating system brings a context-aware Siri, now officially called Siri AI, that will finally gain the promised context awareness and the ability to operate within apps. So the chip is not just faster for games or video editing, it's faster for the thing Apple is betting the entire next era of iPhone on. The A20 Pro is not a spec. It's the engine Apple needs for AI to actually work. Okay, this is the part. Let's talk about the camera, and specifically the variable aperture. Think of how your eye works. In bright sunlight, your pupil shrinks to limit incoming light. In a dark room, it widens to let more in. A variable aperture camera does the same thing mechanically. So instead of relying entirely on software, you get real hardware control over depth of field and low light performance. Every iPhone camera before this has had a fixed aperture, one setting, and software compensates for the rest. Apple held that line through the iPhone 12 Pro Max, the 14 Pro Max, and the 17 Pro Max. Let that land. Every iPhone ever made has used software to fake what this camera does physically. Now, here's the thing nobody's actually explaining properly. The variable aperture is not a filter. It's not a mode. It's not a slider in the camera app. It is a physical iris, the same mechanism professional cinema cameras use. Now inside a phone you carry to the grocery store. It is Apple's biggest camera hardware change in years, and it is exclusive to the Pro Max. The biggest difference between the two Pro models is the camera. The Pro Max gets the variable aperture main camera, a first for any iPhone. The standard Pro gets enhanced telephoto lenses instead. So, if you are choosing between the Pro and the Pro Max this year, the camera is your deciding vote. Not the battery, not the size, the camera. Let's be honest about the design. The iPhone 18 generation is an internals upgrade, not a redesign. The frame is the same, the camera plateau is the same, the footprint is nearly identical to last year. So essentially the same phone with better guts. But there are three design changes worth noting. First, the dynamic island gets smaller. The iPhone 18 Pro will feature under-display Face ID. The selfie camera may still sit in a small punch hole cutout, but the infrared sensors move beneath the screen. Less notch, more screen, and brightness is expected to take a massive leap from last year's already strong numbers. Second, the colors. One of the new colorways for the iPhone 18 Pro is dark cherry, a deep wine-toned finish that looks genuinely stunning in leaked dummy units. It brings a sense of maturity that last year's Cosmic Orange just didn't have. Honestly, dark cherry might be the best color Apple has done in years. Other shades are said to include light blue, dark gray, and silver. Third, and this one is a heads up, not a celebration. The return of the anodized aluminum finish brings back a cosmetic issue that longtime users will recognize immediately. Scratches, chips on a phone that may cost over $1,000. By the case, two more things that don't get enough credit. Battery first. The iPhone 18 Pro Max is rumored to pack the largest battery capacity ever put inside an iPhone, and because the A20 Pro is 30% more efficient than the A19, the real-world improvement in battery life should be noticeable. Not marginal. This is the first year in a while where I would genuinely expect to make it to bed without wondering where my charger is. Second, the modem. 2026 could be the year that the Pro iPhone models get an Apple-designed C2 modem with millimeter wave 5G support. The C2 is expected to replace Qualcomm modems, allowing Apple to stop relying on outside hardware for connectivity for the first time. This matters more than people realize. Apple's C1 modem, which debuted on other devices, is already more power efficient than Qualcomm's equivalent. The C2 takes that further. Better signal holding, less battery drain from connectivity, faster handoff between towers. It's not a headline feature, but it's the kind of thing you feel every single day. And now the price. Apple's CEO, Tim Cook, recently said price hikes are unavoidable. Research estimates put the potential increase anywhere from $50 to $300 per model. One analysis puts the increase at around $270 to maintain Apple's profit margin, which would bring the iPhone 18 Pro to roughly $1,369. Another estimate suggests a steeper $300 increase, potentially pushing the Pro to $1,399. So the Pro Max, historically $100 more than the Pro, could realistically land somewhere between $1,099 and $1,499. That is a wide range, and none of it is confirmed. But here is the honest framing. If you typically buy a Pro model and upgrade annually, September 2026 is a strong year to upgrade. The 2-nanometer chip, the C2 modem, and an under-display Face ID represent a genuine generational leap. If you're on an iPhone 15 or older, and this is probably the clearest yes in 3 years. If you're on a 17 Pro Max, the variable aperture is the only thing that should tempt you, and only if you care deeply about photography. The chip upgrade alone is not enough to justify the jump from one generation. It never is. So, should you buy the iPhone 18 Pro Max? Here is my take. And it's going to sound simple. This is the best iPhone Apple has ever made. It's also the most expensive iPhone Apple has ever charged for. And those two things are both true at the same time. The shift to the 2-nanometer A20 Pro chip, Apple's in-house C2 modem, the variable aperture camera, and under-display Face ID are the meaningful separators this year. If you're upgrading from an iPhone 13 or earlier, don't think twice. This is the phone. If you're on a 16 Pro Max or newer, wait, there is nothing here that changes your daily life enough to justify the cost. And if the price hike lands at the higher end of those estimates, Apple is going to have to work a lot harder to explain this in September, because the variable aperture camera is fascinating. The A20 Pro is legitimately impressive, and the battery life could finally be the thing that stops people from leaving the house with a charger in their bag. But the best camera in the world is still the one you can afford to have with you. I'm curious, like, what's the one feature that would actually make you upgrade the camera, the battery, or are you waiting on the price? Drop it below. I read every single one. And next week, I'm putting the Pro Max head to head against the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra in a camera test that I think is going to settle something people have been arguing about for 2 years. That one's going to be fun.